Yeah, so gift shopping is just one of the many stressors to the holidays.
Oh, I mean, you could say that again.
Just one.
Yeah, just one, because you got planning, you got parties, you got traveling, you're dealing with difficult family this season. That can all bring up tough to deal with emotions to the surface. So we wanted to help tackle the holiday blues. Joining us live, the medical director of behavioral health at Providence Health Plan, Dr. Paul Geiger. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, doctor. Yeah, so tell us about, the holiday blues, that phrase in particular. What are the symptoms that we need to watch out for?
Right. So when folks talk about the holiday blues, really what they're referring to is a change in mood and energy that tends to occur during the winter months. And usually that term holiday blues doesn't mean, a severe clinical depression, but it can just be, a sapping of energy and a lower mood. And it's actually pretty commonly reported in the population, maybe 10 to 20% of people, and folks up in the Seattle area based on their, latitude, more likely to experience it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we don't see sunshine for a very long time. I'm sure that doesn't help at all. What's interesting is when you think of the holidays, you think of all these fun family times and all this cheer. But let's talk about some of the common triggers for the holiday blues. What's bumming us out?
Well, I think that, it is a festive time for most folks. But, as you mentioned, you've got a lot of stress, planning, maybe some financial pressure if gift giving is involved. Alcohol tends to be used increasingly during this time across the population. And so you'll see that as a signal as well.
All right, so moving forward, doctor, I mean, you give us some tools here on how we can perhaps defeat the holiday blues or just kind of manage it a little bit. What tips do you have for people struggling with this?
Yeah, a couple of things. If you think about just kind of common sense things that happen in the winter, people tend to be less active in the winter. And if if you exercise regularly when the weather's nice, that may curtail. So exercising, staying active during the winter months is really important. So that's the first thing. And it doesn't have to be complicated with the gym. You can do things at home, body weight exercise, that kind of thing. The second thing is for some people who have really, maybe more significant symptoms, there's evidence that using a light box in the morning during the winter months can help alleviate, some of these symptoms as well.
So just talk a little bit about some local resources available to people who might be struggling with their mental health. I mean, and at what point do you really need to look at something a bit more, just maybe look outside yourself for some of those resources?
Right. I think that's a great question. And typically what we think of when somebody has a clinically serious condition is when it gets to the point where it's interfering with their ability to function in their roles at home or at work or at school. And so that would be the real tip-off that there's a more significant problem. And so, we encourage folks, if they're noticing that or if they're getting feedback from people that they know and love, that they just don't seem to be, doing well, for them to look for help. And, a couple of things, reaching out to your health insurance company to figure out kind of what your resources are. And I also emphasize, a lot of people have a primary care physician. And you'd be surprised at the amount of, basic mental health care that a primary care physician and their team can offer. And that's often a really good starting place for people to reach out to get assessed and to get some help. I think that the other key thing is if you feel like something's not right, is to get assessed, get an assessment, have somebody who's out, like you said, outside of yourself, who can ask questions and be objective to really figure out, where you're at and how you're doing.
And doctor, last question here. We only got about a minute, but how, there's this wonderful resource that many of us know already called telehealth. How can that play into perhaps getting care faster than just meeting with a doctor face-to-face?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, telehealth has really provided an incredibly convenient way for people to access care. This is basically, doing a video visit. At Providence, we've partnered with our delivery system to provide this service with our own providers. And this really allows people to, there's no travel time. You can just beam in. You don't have to get childcare. It's often offered. Our program is offered in the evenings and on weekends. And so, just really emphasizing that convenience factor, because in mental health it is primarily talking, and so video or tele, as we call it, is really effective.
Medical Director of Behavioral Health at Providence Health Plan, Dr. Paul Geiger, with some great tips for us
Yes.
this morning. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.